Welcome and well done for finding a way to make some time for yourself today. Um, Having a wakeful baby is a tiring process, um, and you are doing incredible work. Supporting your baby in the way that they need at night is laying such important foundations for their future. So well done. And well done for taking care of yourself within that, because it is tough, and if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of our fellow people. So we're going to do a shortish practice today, about 15 minutes. It's just a chance to slow down, to kind of bring your attention inwards, and to see if we can bring some of the compassion and care and attention that we are constantly giving out to our children, to ourselves. And sometimes that process can be tricky for a lot of us. If you find when you turn inwards and slow down, there might be difficult feelings there. That's okay, it's really normal. And we want to see if we can kind of welcome and embrace whatever is there, even if it might be uncomfortable, it might be challenging. It's okay. All of the feelings that are there are normal and welcome, and if we give them some attention and hold them gently, they'll pass in their own time. So let's start in a seated position. You might feel comfortable kneeling, you might prefer to cross your legs, just wherever you're most comfortable. I'd suggest sitting up on something, a cushion or a brick. Just raising your hips up will help you to sit a little bit more upright and open up the front of the body a bit more. So once you've found that comfy seat, give yourself a moment to rock your weight a little bit side to side, really get a sense of the ground underneath you. And then let that begin to slow down. And if it feels comfortable for you, you might choose to close your eyes, or you might prefer to keep the eyes open and the gaze soft. And let's bring one hand towards the heart and one hand towards the belly. Allowing yourself to sit just a little bit taller. Let the shoulders drop down away from the ears, let the face be soft. And taking a moment to get a sense of yourself seated here. Your body underneath your hands. You might be aware of your breath. And you don't need to breathe in any particular way. Just allow the breath to come and to go in its own time. And let yourself scan your attention down through your body just to check in and to notice how things are right now. So what are you bringing into this practice in your body, in your mind, in your heart? Just acknowledging whatever is there. Seeing if you can allow yourself to breathe with whatever you find. And then allowing the hands to rest down, let's come into some movement for the shoulders. So bringing the shoulders right up towards the ears, rolling them back and down. Beginning to allow that to become a little bigger. We can keep the elbows nice and soft. So especially if you are feeding or carrying a lot, the shoulders and the chest can get really sticky. So one arm at a time now. Soft elbow circling up and back. You might find yourself coming into a little bit of a rotation with this. So as the elbow leads back, the gaze might turn back over the shoulder as well. Let's take a couple of circles in the opposite direction, scooping forwards. And then changing sides, so taking the other arm up. Circling with a soft elbow, so the shoulder can still feel connected. Rotating a little bit if that feels good in your body, so turning to look over the shoulder. And then let's take a couple of circles in the opposite direction, scooping forwards. Right. And then coming back towards center. Let's drop the chin down towards the chest, consciously softening the jaw and softening the face. Just noticing if those are places that you might be habitually carrying tension. See what happens when you invite that to soften. And then let's roll the left ear gently towards the left shoulder. Seeing if you can let that left shoulder drop down, if it's hiked up a little bit. Give yourself some time here just to explore the position of your head, to find what feels good for the right side of the neck. You might find your way into a line or an area of tension. You can pause with that for a moment and breathe. Again, notice what happens around the jaw. See if you can keep that soft. And in your own time, let's roll the chin all the way back down to center and then over towards the other side. Again, just exploring a little bit with the position of the head. Finding a stretch that feels good for the left side of the neck. With all the movements that we do, you might find that continuing to explore some soft movement feels good, or you might find somewhere that you want to pause and breathe. Just be guided by how things are feeling inside. Rolling back to center and breathing the face back up when you're ready. If you've got your legs crossed at the moment, let's change the cross of your legs so that things can stay fairly balanced and even through the hips. And let's find some side bends to open up the sides of the body, which when things are kind of tense and stressful, we stop breathing so much with the sides and the back, so things can start to get a little tight. So we're going to open those up. We'll take the right hand down towards the ground, bring the left arm up towards the sky. Let's keep the fingertips away and softly bend that bottom elbow so that you can reach up and over. Take a breath into the left hand side. And then coming back up to center and release. And we'll take the other arm up, soft bend to the elbow, reaching across. And have a little play with the position of the head. Find where it needs to be for the neck to be comfortable. Take a breath in. And then back to release. Great, have another little roll through the shoulders. A shake out through the hands. Imagine that you could shake anything that needs shaking off. All the way down from the shoulders, through the elbows, through the wrists, and out through the fingertips. Great. Anytime you need just a moment to kind of come back to yourself and let something go through the day, that's a really nice movement. I can do that quite a lot. So let's find our way onto all fours, finding a nice tabletop position, spreading your fingers, finding a nice stable foundation with the knees. Let's take a breath here with a long spine. And as you breathe out, let's round the spine, finding cat stretch. So the head drops down, the lower belly draws in towards the spine, and the back of the body reaches up to the sky. Take a couple of breaths here, really imagining the breath moving into the back of the body. And then in your own time, snaking your way through to a gentle arch. The belly drops down, the heart moves forward, the face floats up, and the shoulders slide back. And especially if you are quite newly postpartum, this doesn't need to be a big movement at all. We want to maintain some stability around the lower back and the pelvis. That might be quite a gentle movement. And when you're ready, rounding the spine again. And then snaking your way between those two shapes at your own pace. Easing into the spine, the hips, the lower back. And you might notice this begins to connect with your breath.
but you might notice that the breath remains a bit more independent. So just allow the breath to be however it needs to be right now. Great, and then let that become a little bit more organic and free form. So you might begin with rotating through the hips, circling in one direction or the other. You might explore some snaky side to side movements with the spine. You can allow the shoulders, the head, the arms to just follow the suggestion from the spine and the pelvis. So we're easing into all of the places in the back and the sides. It might become a little bit stuck or held. Just giving ourselves that attention and care that we need. And then in your own time, let's find child's pose. So bringing the hips back in the direction of the heels. They don't need to go all the way necessarily, just as far as feels comfortable. Then find somewhere to rest the head. So that might be the ground, or it might be stacked hands or stacked fists, or it might be a cushion or a couple of cushions. So choose the option that's going to suit you best today. Somewhere that feels comfortable. Allow yourself to begin to settle into this pose. So the body can begin to release tension it doesn't need to be carrying right now. You can just let that go into the ground. The breath can expand into the back, into the backs of the ribs, perhaps towards the back of the pelvis. And the out breath can really be an opportunity for release and letting go. You might want to stay still, breathing here. But it can also be quite a nice opportunity for making a bit of contact with your head, the base of the skull, the back of the neck. If you'd like to do that, you can let the forehead rest down and then just bring one hand or both hands into contact with the head. And maybe just stroking through the hair. Maybe using fingertips or the pads of the thumbs to massage a little bit down through the neck, the sides of the neck, base of the skull. See if you can allow yourself to be really gentle and tender with this contact. And if it feels good, if it feels soothing, then carry on. If it doesn't feel good, let it go. Just let yourself rest. Then when you feel ready to move on from here, we're going to take our arms forwards. Get the arms nice and active and long. We'll connect with the breath a little bit. So as you breathe in, let's draw up towards a tabletop position, strong arms, strong belly. As you breathe out, drawing the hips back towards child's pose. Breathing in and out. And you might want to stay with that movement as it is, or you might choose to rest back in child's pose if stillness is feeling like it might be appealing right now. But if you have been practicing downward facing dog recently, if you are more than 6 weeks after birth and things are feeling okay around the pelvic floor, the lower back, then you might want to thread in downward facing dog. So drawing up as you breathe in, tucking the toes, drawing the hips up and back as you breathe out. And then threading that into the breath. So inhaling to the knees and exhaling back to child's pose. So you can choose whichever version of this journey feels right for you today. Just prioritizing what feels right in your body. And knowing that if you are moving from pose to pose, you could always choose to pause in one place for a few rounds of breath, for a few moments. If you've been finding your way into downward facing dog, you might want to pad through your heels a little bit, sway your hips. And then let's meet, when you're ready, in a forward bend. So finding your way there, however feels best for you right now. Keep your knees nicely bent, a soft bend in the back of the knees so things don't get too held in the backs of the legs. And you might find that supporting your forearms on your thighs and keeping the lower back long feels good for you here, especially if there's any sensitivity in the low back or you gave birth quite recently. Or if it feels good, you could allow the upper body to release down, weight of the head heavy, maybe taking hold of the elbows. And if you've chosen that option, maybe swaying a little bit, making some figure of eights with the elbows, shifting your weight might feel nice. And then we're going to find our way up towards standing. So if you've been supporting yourself on your thighs, use your hands to slowly find your way up. If you've been released down and things feel good in your back, then you could roll up, taking your time, keeping the head heavy, allowing the head to unfurl last. And then roll through your shoulders. Great, and have a little bounce into the knees, have a shake out through the hands, have a wriggle into the legs. Great. And then finding a nice stable standing position, feet about hip distance apart, probably take a look down so that you can see your nice firm foundation. Spread your toes, root into the earth, and give yourself a soft bend in the knees and a little bounce up and down just to feel some connection with the ground and a little bit of release through the spine. And then let that bouncing go. Allow yourself to stand tall. Bring your hands towards your heart. Feel your contact with the earth and notice which foot's holding the most weight right now. And what does that mean higher up in your body? How are things in your legs, your hips, your lower back? And then let yourself shift gently from side to side so that you can find your way a little bit closer to a place of balance than where you might have begun. Let yourself slow down, feel the weight spread evenly through the feet, and then take your attention all the way up through the body to the crown of the head. Let the face soften, let the shoulders drop down, feel your feet on the earth. Okay, so bringing attention down into the feet and the legs can be really useful when things are, when we're really kind of up in our heads, when things are feeling quite heightened emotionally, doing things that help you bring your attention back down, feel your weight on the ground, can connect you quite quickly back to what's happening now. So let's have just a simple standing twist before we finish.
we're going to take our feet a little bit wider, turn our feet out a little bit, and shift your weight side to side, softly bend the knees, have a little sway through the hips. Oh, in fact, maybe a little bit of figure of eights through the hips. Be a nice thing to do before we twist. And then see if you can change the direction of those figures of eight. And that might feel a lot less intuitive than the direction you began, but you might find the quality of the movement kind of changes, shifts and eases as you continue it. Great. So we're looking to find some fluidity and release where it's needed. So then coming back to center, and we'll come into some gentle rotation. So allowing the arms to be long and heavy, just wrapping around from side to side. Keep the knees soft. You might find that lifting the back heel feels good. You could turn the gaze over the shoulder. Great. And then coming back towards center. And from this nice strong foundation, let's take 3 standing breaths. So really wake ourselves up. So breathing in, reaching out and up. Breathing out, bring the hands together and down through the center of the heart. Expanding as you breathe in. Hands down as you breathe out. And last breath here. And out. Great. And then let's come back down either to a seated position or resting on your back if you've got time for a longer rest. If you are going to rest on your back, then I suggest having some support underneath your head, nice blanket or a cushion, and a cushion or a couple of cushions underneath the knees. That feels very nice. I'd like to stay here for a long time. So whether you are seated or lying down, giving yourself a moment to sense the position that you're resting in and to make any little adjustments or changes that you need to make to be as comfortable as you can. And then we'll take just a moment together here, bringing your hands into contact with your body if that feels useful. Maybe your heart or your belly or anywhere else that needs a little bit of attention and tenderness and care. Allowing yourself to be just gently aware of what's going on inside for you now. See if it might be possible to extend a welcome to whatever it is that you find. Allowing the earth to support your weight, to receive your weight. And allow the contact of your hands on your body to be a really clear gesture of support for yourself. You can feel the care and the tenderness that you need right now. It's here for you. And if you have longer to rest right now, then please, please, please take that time, let yourself rest, enjoy it. If you need to move on from here into the rest of your day, just take a moment now to thank yourself for giving yourself this time and space. And think about taking that tenderness and care and support on into the rest of your day. It's always in here for you. Thanks very much for joining me.